Back to my watch through of classic Doctor Who, and we're up to 1987. The ratings are down and the show is in danger of cancellation, so they've decided to do a regeneration story featuring Bonnie Langford and the Rani. That would never happen nowadays. Since the last season, Colin Baker has been fired and Sylvester McCoy brought in to replace him. But we're still stuck with John Nathan Turner, Bonnie Langford and Pip and Jane Baker writing. There is a new script editor, but he is yet to make much of an impact. So it's very much business as usual, with only slight glimmers of hope for the future. One of these is the visuals. We are now in the era of computer-generated effects, and the opening scene of the TARDIS flying through space, being shot at by lasers, looks really good for the time. Star Trek The Next Generation had a much bigger budget, and they were still using models. But then Kate O'Mara strides in with her big hair and shoulder pads, saying, "Leave the girl, it's the man I want," and it's instantly back to just being a camp pantomime. The regeneration itself is dealt with as speedily as possible, given the lack of Colin, but I can't really blame him for wanting no part of it. Unusually, McCoy's first scenes as the Doctor show no sign of the usual post-regeneration trauma. He seems to be in perfect control of his faculties until he is drugged by the Rani. Granted, he does show an unfortunate tendency to fall over a lot, play the spoons and mix up his words, but it's hard to tell if this is just because of the regeneration, or if this is just how they intend him to play the Doctor from now on. I know he's not always like this, hopefully it's just for the one story. The way he keeps quoting sayings but getting them slightly wrong is really grating, and hopefully it won't last. Most of his scenes in the first 2 episodes are with Kate O'Mara as the Rani, and she has abandoned any sense of subtlety and is just playing as a full-on evil queen, ordering her minions about and plotting all kinds of horrific experiments. She does show her range when impersonating Mel, and those scenes are hilarious, to be fair, though you do have to wonder where she got the wig and costume from. Mel herself is basically just a prop in this story, picked up and carried around by various characters, and screaming her head off at every opportunity. If anything, she has even less personality than she did last season. At the end, there are hints that Mel and Icona had feelings for each other, but that's not apparent in any of their earlier scenes together. It's all just too little too late. The Lacertians themselves are a decent-looking alien race. Their makeup shows they're clearly not human, but still allows the actors to have their full range of expressions. And again, it compares favourably to what they were doing in Star Trek at the same time. Only 4 of them get to have actual personalities. The rest of them just all lie around in the centre of leisure all the time. Icona is the rebellious young man. Bayers is the wise old leader. Faroon is the woman, and San is the girl. It's like a little nuclear family, although San is killed off right at the start. Death is an impressive effect, where she's swallowed up by a bubble that bounces around the landscape before exploding. It's a bit elaborate, but it gets the job done. The first cliffhanger is Mel in danger of suffering the same fate, but it's resolved as the bubble doesn't explode for some reason, and they just get her out of it. The other race on the planet are the Tetraps, wisely hidden from the audience until part 2. When you do see them, they look like big cuddly toys, with 4 eyes, 4 ears, and big pot bellies. They're just adorable, but they're clearly meant to be scary, which they are not. If they were in the show nowadays, you would expect to see plush versions of them being sold all over Etsy, but it seems the only toys you can get of them are figurines, so there's definitely a gap in the market there. After a lot of running around, the Rani's plan is revealed. Turns out she's been kidnapping geniuses to fuel her giant brain, and fire a rocket at a strange matter asteroid, which will turn the Kershaw into a time manipulator. And there's something called Loy Hargill involved as well. I'm still not sure what that's all about. Bayers sacrifices himself to save the day, and the Rani ends up being strung up by the Tetraps, which sounds very painful. And the new Doctor goes off with Mel and a TARDIS full of geniuses. A bit like Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure, which was made 2 years later. Could it be coincidence, or was it a remake of this story? If so, it proves there was a decent story lurking inside this one all along. They just had to take out the Rani, the Tetraps, Planet Kershaw, the Doctor, and Mel to find it. The DVD has about an hour of special features. There's a lot more on the Blu-ray, which I'll talk about when I've watched the whole season. Last Chance Saloon is a half-hour documentary telling how they brought the show back, but the executives forced John Nathan Turner to stay on and sack Colin Baker, and he responded by hiring Sylvester McCoy. We see clips of his audition tapes here, and he was much better there than he is in the story, so you can tell he'd end up being a good Doctor given the right material. John Nathan Turner admits the season was made in a rush at the last minute, which explains a lot. Kate O'Mara talks about impersonating Bonnie Langford. And there's a clip from Open Air where John Nathan Turner talks about how the old stories aren't really that good and the memory cheats. Not something Russell T Davies could get away with doing nowadays. There's a 10-minute visual effects feature explaining how they did the bubble traps and exploding rocket. Another feature on making the title sequence, which strained the computers of the time to their limits. And short clips about the planet changing from forest to quarry. One about the guest actors, a brief appearance by McCoy on Blue Peter with a stripy top and a scarf, and a breakfast time location feature interviewing all the stars in the quarry. Overall, it looks better than the last season, but that's about the most positive thing I can say about it. The script is terrible, the constant music throughout is even worse, the actors try to make it entertaining but with mixed results. It's a slight improvement on Colin Baker's first story, but even so, I can only give it 2 out of 10. Next week, Paradise Towers. I think that's better. It couldn't possibly be much worse. Press subscribe if you want to see what I think of that, and I'll see you next time.